As always, these meetings are recorded for educational and entertainment purposes. And in case you don't get my meeting notes at the end of these meetings, it's because you need to check your spam folder or your junk mail folder, because I assure you, all links, all slides, all content that's ever discussed in any commission meeting that I run, they always make their way to your inbox within 24 hours. And I'm being very generous by even saying 24 hours, because I am a machine. I work lightning fast. Anything you guys need, you hit me up and you got it. This is one of the most favorite parts of my job, because I absolutely love our schools. I love our industry partners. I love our post-secondary partners. This commission meeting, what we have here is a consortium, a symposium between all manner of stakeholders throughout New York City. We get together and we talk about industry trends. We talk about the direction that we want to see our education system go in. We talk about what are the skills that our young people need to learn. We talk about what are the skill sets that employers are looking for in their entry-level candidates. And as is our tradition that we do every year, we go over labor market information. That should have been emailed to you already, but in case you don't already have that, Nicole Chen, who's my wonderful assistant, she is our industry engagement coordinator. She's been helping us with a lot of various works and projects over the past several months. She's going to be dropping various links into the chat box. We do have a public folder that is accessible to everybody in this room, to all CTE staff members, to all industry staff. If you are ever looking for past presentations or meeting notes or various flyers, various content, we make everything available to you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to do a brief presentation about the labor market information services and the updated labor market tool that we have. And as a reminder, our commission is chaired by two giants in the industry. My main man, the Roman sensation himself, Dr. Michael Horidnicianu from New York Tandon School of Engineering. We also have the wonderful Miss Mindy No from Perkins Eastman as well. These are two of our greatest industry partners who sit on this commission. They are representations of the fact that we have these wonderful relationships throughout New York City, and they are very, very supportive of the work that we do at the central level as well as at the school level. There should be no reason why any CTE program within this portfolio should ever say that they don't have industry partners, because we have an embarrassment of riches. I can't speak about other programs and other schools in other places, but when it comes to this commission, you should have no reason to ever say that you don't have an abundance of industry partners at your fingertips. And make sure you bookmark this link as well, bit.ly/CTE industry engagement folder. This is the folder that you can access that has all of the commission notes and presentations that go back several years for this commission and all 8 commissions. All right, going to the next slide. What are the goals for today's meeting? Because as you know, whenever the powers that be sends out these surveys that talk about, did the industry engagement manager discuss what the goals are for the meeting? Here you are. The slide is right here. These are the goals for this meeting. We're going to present the updated CTE labor market tool, and we are going to help our CTE schools and programs reflect on how to align their program to labor market data and how to respond to labor market questions in their self-study report and NYCD application. And we're going to hear from our featured panelists about industry and hiring trends, including hearing from other experts in attendance. And who are these other experts in attendance? I'm talking about none other but you. All right, the agenda for today, we're going to walk through the newly developed CTE labor market tool, and we are going to review the key labor market data points that will help CTE staff consider ways in which you can improve your CTE program or programs. As we know, some schools have one CTE program, some schools have a multiplicity of CTE programs. And we're going to hear from our featured speakers about industry trends, and we're going to focus specifically on 3 clusters: architecture, environmental engineering, and mechanical engineering. And of course, after we are finished with our panel discussion, as well as our presentation from our partners at NYCDOE, we are going to open it up so that anyone that has any sort of announcements or updates or opportunities, open mic, feel free to share whatever it is that you'd like to share. Why is labor market data so important for CTE programs to understand and engage? Well, firstly, I have to just put a plug in here because David Banks is my boss. Anytime you hear the phrase North Star being thrown around in any media publications or TV interviews or in meetings, this is referring to the vision that each and every one of our students graduates with a plan and a pathway to a rewarding career, long-term economic security, and equipped to be a positive force for change in our communities and in our city of New York. And by the way, in case you didn't realize, CTE, Career and Technical Ed, we're all about preparing students for post-secondary education and in-demand careers with living wages in New York City. Now, I might be boring for a few minutes here, so some of the non-school staff people are like, what the hell is Gav talking about? This is really for our CTE teachers and APs and principals. What does this meeting have to do with you and what you do? Like, why are you at this meeting looking at this good looking Indian guy telling you this stuff? It's very, very simple. So when we talk about labor market data, this shows up in 3 other places within your own work: the self-study process, your program approval forms, as well as the Perkins application. So, so our CTE staff members, whenever you're doing your self-study and approval process, there is a question there that asks, describe how current labor market data has informed program design and choice of technical assessment. By the way, you see that the lights have gone out. I should be able to fix this because I did get my lighting certification and I need to be able to fix this, but I just have to move around for a little bit. Hold on, come on, turn on, turn on. All right, it's not turning on. I normally stamp my feet and it turns on. Anyway, all right, so I'll just do my meeting in the dark. Okay, there it is. Thank you so much, Evelyn. So that's Evelyn Davila, who runs our Success Via Apprenticeship program. I'm gonna talk about that also before the meeting is over. Evelyn, if you ever see the lights go out again, just make a few footsteps here so I don't do my meeting in the dark. All right, so CTE staff, when you're doing your self-study, there is a sentence that asks you to describe how current labor market data has informed program design and choice of technical assessment. So you can use the data that we're presenting today. Wow, I have 64 people, and this is not even that big of a commission. All right, where do you include this information in your CTL self-study tab? All right, so there's a question there that asks about labor market data. All the graphs and all the info, all the graphics we present today, you can use that information for your self-study tab within the CTE tracking system. And again, when you're doing your NYCD application, and by the way, for our non-school people, whenever you see the acronym NYCD, we're referring to the New York State Education Department. In case you're not aware, every one of our CTE programs has to go through a state approval process every 5 years. And sometimes you may get these weird emails from us asking you to sit on a committee or look at our curriculum. That's because our programs are trying to get either approved or reapproved by the state. And once again, there's a question there for those of us who are from CTE schools that ask about labor market. You can put the labor market information that we're presenting today within your NYCD application. Finally, Perkins, and to some of us old timers, we used to call it Batea. I know the veterans in the CTE world still call it Batea, but it's now called Perkins. This is one of the funding streams that's used to support our CTE programs in various capacities. And there is a question there that asks, how will your program align to labor market needs and career pathways leading to specific occupational titles? And once again, you're wondering, how in the world am I gonna answer this question? You use the labor market info that we are discussing today. All right, so for all the other non-CTE staff members, for my industry folks, my college folks, why does any of this matter to you? Well, always keep in mind, the graduates that are coming from our CTE high schools, that's your future talent. All right, so we wanna make sure that our CTE programs align to trends in the industry and standards that matter to you. And we need your expertise and we need your perspective to deepen our understanding and interpretation of the data that we're gonna look at. What's included and what's new? So the labor market tool we're gonna look at today, page 1 discusses the current hiring and long-term employment trends. We're gonna look at 3 selected areas: architecture and environmental engineering and mechanical engineering. We're gonna talk about who's being hired in this field. And there's also a section there called post-secondary planning, because we do get questions from various schools all the time about what are the colleges out there and what are the different training programs out there that I can send my 12th grade graduating student to. There's a list of different programs there that you can take a look at. Okay, where does this data come from exactly? The DOE consulted with LMIS, which stands for the Labor Market Information Services. That's a part of the CUNY Graduate Center. What they did was they pulled a lot of information based on the job listings found online. It's a combination of the US Bureau of Labor Statistics and New York State Department of Labor, Stats, US Census, and Burning Glass. And why was this data selected? It's to help schools decide about areas of improvement. And it's to complement data that you may have already seen from other websites such as Career One Stop. Now, whereas Career One Stop may not focus so much on the 5 boroughs of New York City, the information that we're going to talk about today focuses specifically on those 5 boroughs within New York City. And also we source some feedback from our stakeholders as well. Just a caveat, there are some limitations to the data we're going to discuss because not every single CTE track is addressed. We do have a number of niche programs throughout our portfolio of 300 CTE programs. We do have big clusters of electrical and pre-engineering and architecture, but we do also have the robotics and we have the manual drafting and we have the aviation. So there are some niche programs, and the labor market data may not necessarily be the end all be all for every single CTE program, but we do try to address at least some of the major clusters of programs that we support. And also keep in mind that the data that we will discuss, it's not evergreen, all right? So the data will continue to evolve, especially as we emerge from COVID. And the tool shows us the trends and not necessarily the why behind the trends. And other labor market information, you can always Google or visit Career One Stop, New York State Department of Labor, and US Bureau of Labor of Statistics. Okay, before we get into the panel discussion, I want to let you all know that several of our panelists unfortunately had to cancel last minute, and these things happen. As we know that these commissions, they're voluntary, nobody gets paid to attend or participate in these meetings, so this is very altruistic work that we do. So when duty calls, when there are higher priorities that involve your job that you have to do, then by all means, go ahead and take care of your business. But I was really hoping that we would have heard from Roberto Villa, one of our commission members. He's from Stantec. Stantec, by the way, once again, was ranked among the top 10 among architecture engineering firms in building design and construction. The various reports, they consistently rank in the top 10. Roberto Villa is a very, very good guy. If you guys are ever doing any sort of guest speaker series or career days and you're looking for industry partners to be involved in your classroom, Roberto is one of the gentlemen who would be happy to support your work. Also, another one of our partners, Gianluca Matarocha from Estee Lauder, he had to cancel out as well because he had a business trip to do. And you may not know this, but Estee Lauder has a lot of overlap with engineering. I don't know how many of us knew that. So this is a picture of Gian doing some additive manufacturing work inside the Estee Lauder labs with his nice lab coat on there. So when you think about Estee Lauder, don't just think about makeup and cosmetics. There's a lot of STEM, a lot of engineering that goes in the work. Okay, and finally, another panelist that had to cancel, one of my good friends, August Felder, from AMF Bolden. And that you can see that young man right there with his 16-inch pythons. Yeah, I work out too. Bowling, one of my hobbies. You may notice that within the bowling alleys, there is a Q logo on those machinery. So I was hoping to hear from August because it's her company that designs and manufactures. She's the mechanical engineering brains that goes behind the bowling alleys. So she also had to cancel out on us because of work-related circumstances. And nonetheless, we do have 2 other fantastic panelists who are with us today. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for just 1 second here so that they can introduce themselves. Just want to highlight for 1 second, Karen Diemer. Can you just tell us about yourself real quick, Karen?
Sure. I have worked for quite a while in the AEC Industries, which is where I met Dr. H. Hi, Michael, again. We know each other from MTA when he was president of Capital Construction. I was there as a communications consultant. I've worked in marketing and communications, holding positions at AECOM, Skanska. I worked for the city, and now I work for a small environmental engineering firm on Long Island.
Thank you so much, Karen. By the way, Karen never agreed to be a panelist. I literally said, Karen, show up to the meeting, give me your headshot, give me your bio, you're a panelist. I'm not taking no for an answer. All right, next, you may not know this, but our commission has been expanding internationally because we have across the pond, Shuram. He is from Tech Equipment, and we're gonna hear about him and his company as well. Shuram, introduce yourself to our commission.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you all, meet here. I'm Sriram. I'm from Tech Equipment, Nottingham-based manufacturer in the UK, and I work as a mechanical design engineer in alternate energy. So Tech Equipment, we manufacture equipments for universities, laboratory equipments for universities and colleges. So it's a challenging data job where you have to give requirements and source it accordingly. And I work for new product innovation. So I'm in the energy field for the past 3 years. I did my master's here in UK in energy engineering, and I had done undergrad in mechanical engineering from India. So it's going quite good in this occasion in new product development, where your everyday part of it is like you have to innovate things, and you just don't realize how the time is going by when you get into the process. And it's quite a challenging job. So we have like a lot of new products being in the launch, and like I'm hoping and looking forward for that. Yep.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. And as always, I would be remiss if I didn't give some airtime to our two co-chairs who are also going to be a part of our discussion. Dr. H, take it away.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm really pleased to be able to be here and see that we have 70 people attending this event. That's quite impressive. I think that one of the charges that we have is to actually look at the labor market and understand that our high school graduates could be involved with a lot of the areas that touch upon technical environment, but also an apprenticeship. And I've heard Gav saying that. And this is an area that was not explored enough. And I looked over the pond, so to speak, but not to England, but I looked at Europe. And there are lots of people that graduate high school successfully, and they continue into a variety of non-necessarily college-driven professions, but some of them quite impressive. And we have an incredible need in New York and in the US for people that understand construction, people that can actually contribute to an area that with the $1.3 billion that will be infused into infrastructure, there will be a very large number of jobs, well-paying jobs that will be there, and people could potentially start that rather early, and in effect achieve financial security and become part of the middle class rather fast. So that's something that we need to also address and keep in mind, that there is a whole group of young men and women that are going to go in that direction. One of the things that I would like to also tell everyone that I am actually now involved in the educational process of our young generation. And I must say that in the engineering field, I've observed that about 30 to 35% of all the students are women. And that's really encouraging, because we are looking at a totally diverse group of people that are joining the ranks of CTE, so to speak. So I encourage you to, I want to listen to what the market is and what everyone is telling me. I hear it because I do speak to a lot of people that are actually looking for interns from the university, and I was able to place a number of them. And it's quite interesting to listen to everyone and understand what your view of the market is today. So
Thank you.
thank you. And Mindy, it's your turn.
Hi, so my name is Mindy No. I'm a principal in the New York office. Perkins Eastman is one of we're an international company, but with the flagship in New York. And, and over the last 2 years, within the workplace, as well as some of the educational challenges, I think being part of the mentorship process, whether you're pursuing higher education or a technical field, that I feel like part of the mentorship is critical in the success of some of the students. So what we see currently in the market is it's really active. It's really difficult to find young staff as well as senior staff. So I think part of the 2 years, a lot of the projects have been on hold. They're continuing to move forward, especially in the planning as well as the construction aspect. So we are seeing difficulty in finding staff and finding talent. So this is a great way to sort of build up the pipeline, and mentorship is a huge part of that.
Excellent. Thank you, Mindy. All right, so with everything that was just said, taken into consideration, let's take a look at what the stats have to say. And once again, we are looking at the CTE labor market tool. This has been emailed to everyone. It will also be re-emailed to you as well. If you look at chart number 2, and my assistant Nicole, she also has been dropping the links into the chat box as well so that you can follow along. All right, chart 2, we see, according to the Labor Market Information Services, it has a 10-year projected job growth from 2018 to 2028. And we see for environmental engineers, there's expected to be a 9.8% increase. Mechanical engineers, 10.2%, and architectural/civil drafters, 7.7%. So across all 3 of these sectors, there seems to be somewhat of a moderate growth. And I wanted to hear first from Karen. What do you think about these stats, Karen? Does this reflect your understanding of the industry? Do you see the industry growing? Is it contracting? What is it like?
Specifically, environmental, I think, is growing, and it's just going to continue to grow as people look for alternative, better sources of energy. And, you need people to staff those jobs in companies that are doing that sort of work. So I think that's, to me, I don't know, it seems a little low, but who am I to argue with the state? That's how I would look at it.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Karen. So Shurram, what do you think about that? I know that you are in a different geographical area, but from your own understanding, your own background, do these numbers look too high, too low, just right? What do you think?
Surprisingly, environmental engineering looks a bit low. I'm quite surprised because post-COVID, if you just look at the geographical and the global phenomena, how it is a lot of startups and energy companies are like nurturing up. You may expect like the number of companies, like a lot of short consultancies, short firms are being growing up. So in 10 years, even they might bump into IPS later in the next 2 decades. So environmental engineering is like at the current scenario, when I compare that with the mechanical engineers, it's not like all of them are core environmental engineers. They would have studied mechanical as their undergrad, and later they would have done a master's in energy or environmental engineering. So they end up in a job in the energy side. So, I should be seen. It should be seen like the mechanical engineers. If you look at the numbers, are very progressive. So I reckon like a lot of the students in the mechanical engineers might choose this subfield where they branch out to energy or environment. So it shouldn't be seen as like a different, a separate path. It's also an integral part of mechanical. So I guess the number difference is because of that, I think.
Okay, very good. That's good to know. So there is more of an overlap between these different disciplines than it may seem. Oftentimes we tend to compartmentalize these different disciplines, but in industry we see that there's a lot of overlap between these different subsectors. All right, when we look at chart number 3,
Gav, if I may
yes,
comment,
go ahead.
on
when I look at the second chart there, right, and I'm seeing on the second page where it talks about the different services or entry level, I am seeing where environmental engineers are being engaged more as consultants, right, to offer services and advice as to how, you know, things can be different to become more environmentally friendly. So it really complements both mechanical and architectural engineering as well.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Rowan. All right, let's take a look at chart number 3. This deals with the percentage distribution of years of experience sought for job candidates in these 3 focus occupations that we're looking at. So we are specifically looking at all the job listings in New York City. LMIS, they pulled, think about all the different job listings out there for environmental engineers, mechanical engineers, civil drafters, architects. All the different job listings were pulled across the city. Now, it seems as if the vast majority, no experience mentioned within these job listings. Not necessarily, I guess we can debate whether or not these positions are entry level or whether or not the company just chose not to mention a specific area. But what I wanted to highlight though is that we see that for this, for these listings, a lot of listings out there, they're asking for 2 to 3 years experience. And now this puts us in a quandary, you know, from the CTE teacher perspective. And I want to hear from you, Karen. Your company, do you guys hire entry level, or do you know of other companies that hire entry level? Like, what is a person's chances? Like, if they go to either high school or college and they get a degree in mechanical engineering, environmental engineering, what is it like for that individual? Are they going to come across a lot of headwind trying to get a position as an entry level candidate? Or is it something where you need prior experience? But how do you get the prior experience if somebody doesn't hire you first? What do you think?
No, I mean, we personally in my company, we hire a lot of entry level people. In fact, if you know any, can give me their resume because we're hiring right now. And, you know, because it's a small company, they've gotten me involved in trying to source candidates, and it's been very hard. We're calling it entry level, but then, you know, they were saying, oh, 2 to 3 years experience. And I was saying, you know, that's not really entry level. Entry level to me implies somebody that has no experience. So we do look for entry level, and we're pretty flexible in whether that's 0 to 3 years of experience, right? We're very willing to train people, you know, but once you start to get beyond 3 years, then there's definitely a differential in the salary, what that people are expecting. So you have to consider all of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So Shriram, what do you think? What exactly, are there job opportunities out there for an entry level student trying to get into the engineering field, or how would they navigate the system in order to get a job if they have no experience already?
But no experience, it's pretty difficult chance. I would say it's like 2080, I would say, because this environment and energy field is like you need to have a certain set of exposure to certain softwares and regulations. So the people won't be at your job always ready for them if you invest some time and train you up. So there are certain cases if there are like huge project requirements and like a huge set of commitments for the next few years, there might be a chance of no experience people getting hired, because this is when you'll have a lot of your learning curve would be more. Else, I would suggest the CTE students, if they unless have some certified courses done, like coding courses, like design courses, or any certified courses or accreditations for the institutions, and they have a good high school project which has a huge impact, like they did it with a company or a college, maybe that may put them on the radar. So the percentage is quite high. I'm surprised. I'm highly happy for the new experienced people, but I would personally reckon it's it's going to be a tough cookie in that case, because this field is like you need years of experience, of knowledge, of expertise. This field handles many process which is like not taught in even in colleges. Most of them are not taught in colleges, until unless you step into your job, you yourself are not aware of what exactly the market is and how exactly the world progresses in it. So, but the things are going to change in the next few years, because this COVID has turned everything upside down because a lot of companies have started booming up. So we might expect to predict that numbers will even go high, and that's good for the people, the CTE. It's progressively good.
Okay, terrific. Thanks, Sharam. And as always, Mike and Mindy, feel free to chime in as you please, okay? All right, so for chart 4 now, we're gonna look at the entry-level wages as well as the in-demand skills for these 3 focus occupations. Environmental engineers comes out at top. The entry-level wage that was determined based on the job listings is about $73,000, followed by mechanical engineers at around 65K, and followed by architectural and civil drafters around 53,000. In terms of the employability skills, what's very interesting is not only when it comes to these 3 jobs, but just about every job title that we've looked at, whether it's in healthcare, construction, transportation, hospitality, we see consistently that communications comes up as the top skill that is repeatedly mentioned within these various job listings. In terms of in-demand technical skills, some of these probably don't really tell us much because some of the job listings, they literally just took the same title and put it as a skill like environmental engineering. But when it comes to environmental engineers though, what was listed was geology, knowing environmental laws, as well as biology. Mechanical engineers, we see that HVAC comes up. We actually do have a CTE HVAC program in the Bronx. Construction, AutoCAD, mechanical design. And when it comes to architecture and civil drafters, the top technical skill by far was AutoCAD, which I believe the majority of our CTE programs are doing, followed by CAD, Autodesk Revit, as well as general construction skills, shop drawing. Now, for these 3 jobs, no specific certification really came up much for architecture. But when it comes for mechanical engineers, I'm sure it's no surprise, the licensed PE designation, professional engineer, came up 14% of the time. Environmental engineers, I was a bit surprised about this.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Because you are mentioning licensed professional engineer. In order to be a licensed engineer, first you have to have, there is a level 1 that is taken when you complete your college, but then to become a licensed professional, you have to have a minimum of 4 years experience in design. That is not anything to do with the entry level. You can't have it at entry level. So that's something that you're gonna acquire later on. And by the way, just one of the things that is not included here, you have mechanical engineers, but you do not have civil engineers. And that's also a pretty much in demand profession right now.
Yeah, absolutely, Dr. H. So for purposes of this specific CTE labor market tool, the DOE chose just 3 job titles. That's the reason why we don't have the civil engineers, structural engineers, electrical engineers, because I did see that in the chat box. But for this particular labor market tool for this year, the focus was just on these 3 particular titles. But thanks for that information though. For environmental engineers, like the construction trades, the driver license came up as a in-demand credential, followed by OSHA. And I wanted to hear from you, Karen. What do you think about some of these job listings? Do you agree that these are the major in-demand skills and the certifications that are necessary? Or do you think other things are missing? What are your reactions to this data that was pulled?
So we do look for, when we're sourcing entry-level, even experienced people, civil and environmental. We won't close the door on a mechanical engineer, but we really focus on civil and environmental just in terms of the education. The driver's license is really important, which makes it difficult when you're talking to people that have been in New York City their whole lives. They don't usually have a license or definitely not a car. And, I've talked to quite a few people and tried to tell them, listen, if you're going to be in AEC industries, you're going to find you will need these things, so you should consider that. But as far as the other skills, the employability skills, definitely communications, but we're always looking for people who have really good writing skills, because a lot of what they do involves taking reports, taking lab data, and distilling that down into a report that's digestible, but yet, has all the complex data that people need. So, we need that. And we also need people, that have personality, because they're out in the field talking to our clients all the time. So, some people are just naturally more subdued, but we have to sort of think about those things when we're interviewing people. If they're very, very shy, let's say, how are they going to interact with our clients? Not that we want them, slapping them on the back all the time, how you doing? But, they do have to have a personality because they're dealing with our clients. So we think about the interpersonal skills in addition to, geology. Yes, definitely we look for that. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. Attitude, communications, and written skills for sure are important as well.
Karen?
Yeah.
Succinct and to the point. And that's something that is not easily achievable actually, and I am not at the college level, I'm saying at the high school level, that has to be emphasized. People have lost the ability to express themselves in writing properly, and to a certain degree also verbally. The word should disappear from the vocabulary of a lot of our new student, graduates, because when you come to speak, you don't know. You want to listen. Anyway, I'm just making the point because I'm dealing with that day in and day out, and that's a real tough thing to get young students. Now, I'm not only a high school student, young college students, to be able to properly write as well as express themselves verbally in a way that they come across properly.
I think
Peers
I
and
think I
clients.
think we're all preaching to the choir here. I see that Roberto had just came in. Roberto, I don't know if you are joining the panel or not. You can feel free to chime in when you get a chance, Roberto. But let's hear from Mindy first. Go for it, Mindy.
Sure. Thank you. So what we're seeing is it's less of the technical skills of like Microsoft and software. It's communication is first of all. When you're presenting yourself, you're presenting your thoughts as well as your interests, that there needs to be a connection. For the technical skills, we're seeing less on the AutoCAD because now Revit is the basis of the production work that we do, as well as some of the visualization software like Rhino, Ladybug, Enscape. These are some of the more current software that's trending, but Revit is the basis of design at this point for production. Similar to what Michael has noted, that to become a licensed architect, you need an internship of 3 years of experience. So there's a level of experience that you need to go through to go to the certification process. But as part of that learning process, if you're in school, that there's internships available that the students should actively look for, because even though they may not have the experience background, they should seek internship with resources available, whether it's through CTE or other institutions like AIA New York. But there's resources out there to have those internships and the relationships and being able to foster, as you get through the development of education from, when you're a freshman versus senior, I feel like there's this continuity that needs to develop. So as well as the entry level wage, I feel like recently, and maybe it's because a lot of architects have left the field, that they're in demand, that the entry-level wage is a little bit higher than what's shown here. So we're positive and we're forward-thinking, and as we look at what we see coming down the pipeline, that it is quite active, as well as looking at communication and being able to connect with people, really vital tools in getting your foot in the door.
Thank you, Mindy. Roberto, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Roberto.
Great,
Yeah,
thank
so
you.
we're discussing the job listings, and if you can see the screen in front of you, these are some of the most popular in-demand skills according to the listings. What do you think about these listings? Are things missing or things that need not to be there? What is your reaction to this data?
Actually, it seems very accurate. I mean, there are so many openings right now. I mean, the market's very hot. There's a tons of work that being advertising for public agencies and all the private sector as well. There is a tendency now like, for example, my company, it's very hard right now to get people with higher experience, over 5 years experience. So our target now, let's hire the people who's just out of the school. Let's get the interns and let's train the people to eventually become higher positions. It's very competitive right now. Right now is the perfect time to be looking for a job. As Mindy was saying, for architects, there's a 3-year internship program, and that internship program you can start doing it the minute you start school. So that counts towards your license. So you don't have to wait to finish school to start getting that time under your belt. It's something you can start the minute you get your undergrad in architecture. The civil is very important. Geotech is very high pay right now. And architecture, you see a lot of opportunities. There is a lot on the private sector and a lot on the transit sector as well.
Okay, thank you, Roberto. So I just wanted to give some of our partners in the room a little context. So I do agree with what Mindy said in terms of the industry moving towards Revit, because I've heard this from a number of different partners. As a matter of fact, when we did a external review meeting at Brooklyn Tech, some of our partners from Bala Engineering and some other firms said the same thing, that Revit is becoming the standard now. But just keep something in mind though. A lot of our school staff, if they're trained in Autodesk, AutoCAD, it's not something that's going to happen overnight that you just tell a teacher, hey, we're not using AutoCAD anymore, let's use Revit. Keep in mind that there's a whole lot of training that has to go in place. And speaking as a former teacher myself, I'm going to be honest with you, if I'm used to doing something very well a while, it's like pulling teeth to get me to change how I teach. And I know a lot of teachers feel the same way. So if there's somewhat of a lag between what the classrooms do versus what's happening in the workplace, just keep in mind that there's so many different structures and logistics that go into doing professional development, getting a teacher to do a whole new curriculum, whole new lesson planning, a lot of training, and there may not be, we may not have the capacity for that in all cases. So just keep that in mind whenever you see some sort of disconnect between school and industry. Just keep in mind that we have all these other different obstacles that we're working with in the education system. I wanted to just read something that I heard from Jeff Hall. It says that he finds communication to be one of the key frustrations of CTE teachers and engineering professors. Don't write like you text is what I hear. Because of that, we've contracted with a company to provide online professional writing skills for everyone in the CTE fields like automotive, electrical, text, and training. So Jeff, I mean, when we do our announcement section before the meeting concludes, you can feel free to tell our audience more about that. Mig from the Structural Engineers Association says that the licensed PE requirement for entry-level openings might also be because of the lazily written job openings that he mentioned above. He saw that a number of senior level openings that said 0 years required had a tag on LinkedIn, but if you look further through the posting, it becomes obvious that it's not actually an entry-level position. And yeah, I've gone through that headache myself, Meg, where a lot of folks, a lot of recruiters, a lot of HR managers, they do a lot of copy and pasting of job listings. It may say entry level in the title. You look through the listings, they want 5 years experience. So what I can say though to our CTE school folks is that we do have a number of partners that are open to legit entry level candidates. So just as we are moving along, as we're getting closer to the end of June, if you are trying to find job placements for some of your graduating students who are serious about work, you can always feel free to tap into this commission. Feel free to reach out to me because I do try to make those connections as well, because we understand the type of environment we work in where it's very difficult for some of our entry-level folks to get work. Okay, chart 5 deals with the sex and ethnicity distributions for these occupations. And when it comes to environmental engineers, and this was mentioned earlier by Mike and a few others, that there are more females entering into this occupation. So we're at about 2 to 1 ratio right now when it comes to male to female within environmental engineers. When it comes to mechanical engineers, however, still very, very heavily dominated by men. And we see a similar 2-to-1 ratio when it comes to architects and civil drafters. For chart 6, this deals with the percentage distribution of education levels sought for job candidates in the 3 focus occupations. And we talked about this already, that unlike some of the other commissions I deal with, like the construction trades, automotive, when it comes to architecture and engineering job disciplines, you pretty much do need the bachelor's degree. It's not as easy a field to get something straight out of high school as some of the other skilled trades that we work with. Just want to hear, sorry, just 1 second here. Okay, so speaking about these education levels though, I wanted to go into the interview process. Karen, wanted to hear from you first. Are there any sort of tips or advice you have for any of our graduating students who may be going through an interview process, whether it's for an internship or a job at a firm? Any sort of tips, advice, recommendations you have?
Well, I think as Dr. H said, we look for people coming out of college that have the FE, the Fundamentals of Engineering, which is the precursor to the PE license. It shows up us that they have initiative, which is very important. It's not, you know, a must-have type of thing, but that tells us a lot about the individual. So during the interview, you know, we just want somebody who's very professional, outgoing without being overbearing, and you know, somebody who's smart and presents themselves professionally is very important. And again, as was said before, communication skills are very important. If you have those verbal tics, like I just did, you know, try to break yourself of those habits, because it can be very off-putting. I think sometimes people don't realize how much they say those things, particularly in an interview. But for younger people, you know, come prepared. Maybe have the job description with you, a printout of your resume, look professional. Don't come in wearing sloppy clothing or sweatshirts or something. It's fairly easy, even if you don't have a ton of money, to go to, you know, Goodwill or Salvation Army and get a shirt and press it. You know, you don't have to come in wearing a suit, but you do have to look as if you're taking the job seriously, and definitely be prepared. Know what the company does and look at the website. I mean, I've interviewed people that sit there and tell me they haven't looked at the website. And I sort of scratch my head and think to myself, well, how do you even know what this company does if you didn't look at the website? So there are those things, I believe.
Thanks,
One of
Karen.
the things
Yes.
that I would like to actually add to what Karen said. In the last 2.5 years, we are right now looking at a lot of students that are really not accustomed to be in a classroom. They all want to be online. They develop now other ways to actually trying to fake it that they are there by actually recording videos that play while they are whatever they are. And that's a real issue that if it's carried through the profession itself becomes a problem. If anyone has seen the last Sunday weekend review article about students, and if you didn't, I actually say to you, go look at it. It's not an encouraging thing at what is happening right now at a college level. And the question that I have, once we have all of these children that for a long time, they've been detached from being in an environment that require you to connect to people, to be around people, that's a real issue. And I think that needs to be addressed at the educational level, because continuing, you know, the fact that this 2.5 years that we have a lot of young people being online is not really conducive to what we want from the profession. I'm just relating to that because I have been in this business for many years, and that is truly, as much as technology is terrific and the Zoom has been around and we used it, it's not a replacement for meeting in person and being able to interact with people. It's much easier in a way to interact on Zoom because you don't have to show much, so to speak. It's just it's a personal thing that I've seen from people in the profession. And in spite of me being now an academic, I have a long history of being in the business world, and I continue to do that even now. So I'm telling you, that's an issue that we need to address at the educational level.
Yeah, Mike, and a lot of folks feel the way you do. And I mean, that's the very reason why we've had in-person learning as of September last year. I don't know if there are any plans to go back to remote based on pandemic numbers or whatever the case may be, but we definitely sympathize with those views and we agree. And, we've been trying as best as we can to have in-person learning for the past school year now. Shuram, do you have any sort of advice you'd like to give to our schools about interviewing tips for young people trying to get into the industry?
Yeah, well, exactly. So looking at your last slide about the in-demand skills, what you have highlighted for the environmental engineers. So I would say we also include this problem-solving aspect in the environmental engineers as well. Because from a student perspective, when even I was trying for a job, so most of the graduate roles which when we come out of the college, it's like it's going to include as you said, like communication and verbal skills. All the first round is going to be an online test. So on the online test is mostly it's like it is based on a technical aptitude, which is quants and your verbal skills. And some companies also insist psychological questions like which suit your interest to the role. So I would say as an engineer, it's like essential for you to be assessed based on your quantitative skills and your mathematics. So that's the prime step. And the next one is most of the companies, when assessing you, they directly, instead of like starting from the questions of about like what do you know and what's your experiences, they just directly give an industrial problem for you to solve. That's like a part of their work. So that might be a problem statement. So it's like it is out of your interest. It's an open book. So now you got to find a solution to that. And so at the end of that, you do a presentation at the final round to the employees, like telling your point of view and justify your answer. There is no right or wrong answer to the problem statement. It is your ability as an engineer to think and answer the statement, like how will you address the scenario. So that's how even I got interviewed. So the first step was like an aptitude test. I have to get through that. Then they gave me a problem. So there's no right answer for a right question. So you got to find a way and solution. Like you have to justify that you are right and this will work. And finally, that you will have a suitability interview, like state and outlining the job requirements and the conditions in which you're going to be, and your acceptance to do the role. You might have to travel to the site, so you require a driver's license for that. You might have to meet multiple suppliers and local suppliers as an engineer. So mostly I would say to start with, all these CTE students they are encouraged to have a high verbal communication and mathematical skills. That's the way they can crack and make the first step as a successful engineer.
All right, terrific. Roberto, is there anything you wanted to add?
Yes, I think it's important when you're an applicant to a project or to an internship is for architecture have a portfolio. I see beautiful portfolios from different high schools. Please, you make sure the students start keeping up the work. The work doesn't have to be magnificent, but it has to tell a story. You have to tell what you are learning from and what you're passionate about it. That's more important than the final result of the portfolios, the process. Recommend the students to be present. It's important to be present because you get exposure to a much better learning experience as possible to be at the office all days and try to avoid the remote work when it's feasible, obviously with the health conditions and everything. But it's important to be present. Learn about the company you're interviewing, go to the website, as Karen was saying, show your interest that you want to be part of the organization.
Thank you for that, Roberto. And in case our industry folks were not aware of this already, but within our CTE world, our students have to do a 3-part technical assessment before they graduate. Now, some schools, what they may do is some sort of culminating project or culminating exam, but then there are other schools where the students are actually required to maintain a portfolio of their work over the past 3 to 4 years. And Nicole Chen, I'm speaking with you also. Remember, I told you all the work that you do, make sure that you put it together in a portfolio. And this is something that I see a lot of our young people neglecting to do. All right, so even if it's something that your school doesn't officially implement as a part of the technical assessment, encourage your young people to keep that collection of their work that they've been doing throughout the past 3 to 4 years, and have them bring it with them to the interview. I've been a recruiter for a number of years for a number of firms across New York City, and I can tell you that whenever candidates have that portfolio ready with their resume, it always gives them a leg up. So continue doing those technical assessments and telling your kids that this is not just something to do as a regular classroom assignment, but this is something that can help them in their actual career as well. All right, so I want to thank Karen, Shriram, Roberto. Thank you so much for participating on our panel today. I'm going to give you a nice emoji round of applause. Where's my reaction button? They changed up my Zoom thing. Where's my reaction? Oh, there's my clapping thing.
Thank
All right,
you.
so I want to
Thank you,
open it
Gab.
up to the audience. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. H or Mindy or our featured panelists today? Any questions or comments?
Hey, Gav, can I just add something?
Yes.
I just wanted to
Yes.
say, when you were talking about keeping that journal, it's also very, very important, because if they go to college and decide to get a PE license, they are going to have to write down every single thing they ever did for the past 7 years or whatever it is. So getting used to doing that and writing about it in a very, good manner that people can read and understand is very, very important. It's a good skill to be teaching them.
Yes, and in addition to that, Karen, our CTE programs, in order to get state approval and maintain state approval, they're required to have an articulation agreement with a college. And we have an articulation with NYIT, for example, among some other colleges. If you read the articulation, there are some sentences there that say that a student can be eligible for X amount of credits if they can demonstrate some of the competencies or some of the classwork that they did throughout high school. So that's another reason for the student to keep that portfolio, because it's going to come up again as you enter into freshman year of college. You want to show the admissions office that, hey, these are all the different classes I've taken. These are all the work that I've done while I was in high school. So again, a lot of stuff that our kids do in high school, it's not in a vacuum. It's something that they need to keep with them as they progress throughout their education and career pathways. All right, any questions, comments from the audience? Going once, going twice. Speak now or forever hold your peace. All right, so I'm gonna move on.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Somebody else. It's Ruby Saki with SCA.
Yes, Ruby. Hi.
How about just advice for a student going to a 2-year school and then transferring to a 4-year school for engineering? So they're starting off in liberal arts and they think they want to go to engineering or something else, and then they're just any advice of courses? I mean, of course, they can have a conversation with the other 4-year college about what courses they should be taking. We know math and science clearly, but they wouldn't have maybe access to the intro to engineering, et cetera. So just thought I would throw that out there as any advice. And hi, Valerie Golston.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. To add upon that, so when you venture into engineering, so I would say the basic coding like C programming or Python, learning the basics of these could help them up in a way, like in a lot of engineering stuff, coding. So that might be a good head start for them. And as well as they might do some AutoCAD courses. If not, they might start with some basics of the SolidWorks or Creo. This is because as an engineer, they are like entitled to a lot of courses which require them for designing, and a lot of projects, even in the college and high school, demand these skills. So it's sufficient if they get their hands on in these 2 courses and certifications that might help them and put them forward in the job search.
Okay, thanks,
What coding
Shriram.
would you require?
Yes.
Which coding would you recommend?
Basics would be C,
Right,
C++.
gotcha. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
So
Yeah.
Dr. H, I mean, did you have anything to weigh in on? Anything, any advice for somebody? They're in a community college, transferring to a four-year college, hoping to pursue engineering or architecture.
One of the important things when you decide to engage in a certain path in life is to find something that you really like to do. If you are going to pick to go into the engineering profession, as an example, you better like what it goes and you better learn what it means. However, there are many other ways to go into that adjacent profession to engineering. Let's say we talk about construction, and there is a paucity today of people in the construction area that could actually make incredibly good wages. Just to give you an example, a laborer that works in the city of New York, that it doesn't matter if he's a member of a union or if he gets paid wages that are comparable in the private, they make somewhere around $45 an hour. Engineers will take a while to get to that. If you talk about, there is one profession that there is a union called operating engineers. And operating engineers, they are the one that operate all the machinery. They make about $250,000 a year. So what I'm trying to say is that we need to prepare our high school graduates in a way that some will go into the academic environment, and this is great, and they will have to love it in order to move up. They will have to have certain abilities that go beyond knowing math, but being able to communicate, that will allow them to move up. And at the same time, there are other venues, and that may include to go to a community college, to go to an apprenticeship program, that we ought to actually prepare, and we can prepare our students to do that, and actually get them apprenticeship during summers and so forth, so they can, in effect, eventually become join the labor force in a different way. But the point is that what we want to create is success. And success coming out of high school may take many ways, and college is only one of them. I was speaking to someone, and Gav, I'm not going to name it, but you know who it is, used to be your boss, and he came once from Switzerland at a place in Zurich that he attended a conference. And I happen to be familiar with the European system, and only 20% of the high school graduates in Switzerland go to college. The remainder of them join and take a profession. They are trained in a certain profession that assures them a good wage, a good living, and they can do that not only to go to college. So my point is that we need to also be cognizant as to how we guide our students going forward, as to the various paths that they can take in order to achieve success. And quite frankly, the most important thing that is for me, and I'm trying to convey that to my students and to whoever work for me, love what you do, be passionate about it, you're going to be successful. That's the only way I can put it.
Thanks, Mike. So Mike actually mentioned Local 14 operating engineers. We do have a partnership with them. I remember when they were recruiting, I emailed out the entire portfolio of schools for candidates. I only had 22 students apply for these positions, so and I was very disappointed about that, because as Mike just said, those are extremely lucrative careers you could get into without even a college degree. All right, a couple of things I just wanted to mention before we wrap this up, because I want to turn it over to Holly and Laura. Megara and his folks there at the Structural Engineers Association, they do a wonderful presentation about the different certs you need, the different educational pathways, some of the different disciplines within engineering. Ruby, to answer your question, all engineers, especially structural engineers, they should be going for a minor in computer science if possible. And we have one of our other partners, Cheryl Matthews, on board with us, who says that calculus is very important. The ABET requires that engineers have 3 systems of calculus as well as chemistry. I guess you meant 3 semesters of calculus as well as chemistry and 2 semesters of physics. So Ruby, hopefully that gives you some insight. All right, so we're gonna
Thank you.
change gears. Great, you're welcome, Ruby, always a pleasure. All right, so we're gonna switch gears because we have less than 20 minutes to go. I wanted to make some time for Laura Giannini and Holly Monroe from NYCDOE. I was on a call with them, and we've been in back and forth conversations for some time now. And I wanted to make sure that the information that they present today regarding grants and training programs and various resources, I wanted to make sure that everyone was here to hear this, because it is very hard to gather various staff members and various industry partners together in meetings like this. So I figured, why not have them present in our commission meeting? So for businesses, schools alike, please pay attention to this very, very timely and relevant presentation from our partners at NYCDOE. So Holly and Laura, take it away.
Thank you so much. Do you want to share the slides that you have in your
You
deck?
can
or
go
do you want me
ahead.
to?
Yeah,
Okay.
you can go ahead. You're a host.
Sure, let me go for it. Does everyone see the cover of this? Oops, one more click. There we go. Can everyone see the cover of the slide deck?
Yes, we see it.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to present. I'm Laura Giannini with the NYCDOE Workforce Development and Training Team. Today, we're looking to provide a very high overview of the funding opportunities related to clean energy workforce development and training that is offered through NYCDOE. I will try to keep this brief in interest of time. We want to allow for some questions at the end. So overall, NYCDOE's mission is looking to advance clean energy innovation and investment to combat climate change, improve the health and resiliency and prosperity of New Yorkers, and deliver benefits equitably across the state. We have over $120 million dedicated to clean energy workforce development and training that is being offered out through various funding opportunities. We are looking to support training projects that train both existing workers and also new workers to enter the clean energy field. And we rely on partnerships. So that's partnerships with training institutions, businesses, kind of across community-based organizations, a variety of groups across the clean energy workforce training space. It can be difficult. We recognize it can be difficult to navigate the various funding opportunities. So what we're going to do here is speak at a very high level of 2 of our main programs that are of interest to this particular audience. I will encourage anyone on the call, if you'd like more information, to reach out to us directly after the meeting. We'll send out some information about our websites, and we are always available to answer questions and provide more information to help different groups navigate our various funding opportunities. So to start, the one category that I'll be talking about today is our hiring support programs. These are funding opportunities looking to help businesses bring on and train new workers, reducing the risk of hiring and onboarding new talent. And then also providing internship activities. I noted that there was a lot of discussion about internships earlier in this conversation and the value of those. The Clean Energy Internship Program is designed to allow businesses to bring on interns and provide that valuable introduction to the clean energy field. 2 other program categories we'll be touching on is our capacity building training program solicitation, which is broad energy efficiency and clean technology training. And then NYCDOE also just launched a new initiative focused on pre-K through 12 clean energy educational and professional development activities that we're really excited about. So again, just a high level for some of these programs. If anyone wants more information about them, we will send out some follow-up links after the meeting, and feel free to reach out, just trying to keep it brief here. But first off, the on-the-job training program, it is focused on businesses that work in the clean energy space. So that's businesses working in HVAC, building automation, the solar industry, lighting, energy storage, those various energy efficiency and clean energy technologies that are helping New York State work towards its climate goals. The way the program works is it's wage reimbursement. Businesses apply, they bring on a new hire, they identify a training plan for this new worker, what's needed to get them up to speed in their new position. And NYCDOE provides either a 50% or a 75% reimbursement on those wages for the training period. The intent is this frees up capital for the business to invest in that training, whether it's an outside certification, providing some extra staff time for job shadowing, things like that. This is a very popular program. We've had over 900 individuals hired to date across the state. And we also partner with the New York State Department of Labor to administer this program. And the DOL can help participating businesses find workers if a business has an opening and they're looking to, they need some help finding candidates. So great program for any of the businesses on the call, and also just general awareness for any individuals in the training space, just to help know that this is out there to help businesses hire workers in those entry-level jobs. Oops, too far. Similarly, the companion program, PON 4000, is the Clean Energy Internship Program. As I mentioned, this is designed to give individuals that valuable introduction to a new job, professional experience, and the opportunity to work in a professional setting and learn about clean energy jobs. So similarly, employers for this program must focus on one of the categories of energy efficiency, renewable energy, or clean energy. And then the interns must be New York State residents and meet one of our eligibility criteria. It can be current college students, recent graduates. And I will note that technical high school students are one of the categories of students who are eligible to apply for internships. We don't do matching. Businesses apply to the program and interns apply to the program, and we do provide resumes of the interns who have applied to businesses who are looking to hire. But then it's up to the businesses to coordinate the interviewing and hiring process. And similarly to the on-the-job training program, the funding is provided on a reimbursable basis. So NYCDOE provides funding for a portion of those wages up to 480 hours for each internship. And that's on a sliding scale based on the size of the employer business. Switching gears a little bit to our broader training solicitations, this is where we provide larger scale funding opportunities. So projects in the range of $50,000 to $500,000 can be funded to meet a need for a training provider or a partnership of organizations to scale up clean energy training, whether it's bringing in new curriculum, a new initiative related to clean energy, or scaling up and expanding an initial activity. We're looking to build the capacity of workers coming into the clean energy industry, and then also providing new skills to existing workers. So again, our technology focus area is energy efficiency, clean energy, renewable energy, in those fields specifically. And this is a competitive solicitation. So there is rolling rounds of applications, and there's scoring criteria for the proposals that are submitted to make sure they're meeting the criteria of what we're looking for in a training project. The funding opportunity is designed to be pretty open-ended. We can provide funding for things like curriculum development, actual delivery of the training. Equipment is a really popular thing that we fund through there to make sure the trainees are learning on the most up-to-date and modern equipment. Hiring and training of trainers, and a number of other things, including some wraparound services and job placement services, as we are looking for the training to have a clear path to an internship, a job, a pre-apprenticeship program. That's really a focus of what we're looking to invest in. I'm not going to go too much into the weeds of the project requirements that's spelled out on our website, but just some key things is we're looking to fill a specific gap or a need for expanding training on new concepts or building on the capacity to train more workers. And it needs to match up with business need. We've heard a lot from businesses today about the hiring pinch out there. And so when we're looking at training projects, we're looking for that industry engagement saying, yes, we need these workers with those skills. Yep, and then I think I will turn it over to my colleague Holly to discuss the Clean Green Schools Initiative.
Thanks, Laura. The last program that we want to highlight for the audience here is our PON 4924. This is for P through 12 schools, and it's called the Clean Green School Initiative. People who can participate in this program are all public schools in New York State that are either designated as high needs by the Education Department or located in a disadvantaged community, which is a term that's defined in the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. This program consists of 3 different pillars, the first of which is named Track 1, and that allocates funding for planning for comprehensive energy reduction, decarbonization, environmental sustainability, and indoor air quality projects. Some examples of what could qualify for funding would be energy auditing, energy management, or even fiscal advisory services as it relates to clean energy. The second pillar is Track 2, which is funding for the installation of physical construction projects that decarbonize a building portfolio. Examples of construction projects that would be eligible would be clean heating and cooling, anything that makes a building electrification ready by way of weather stripping, insulation, and the such, along with a gamut of energy efficiency projects that reduce the building load. The third pillar of this program is clean energy education and professional development. And this really corresponds with Track 1 or Track 2. It's kind of an add-on package, if you will. And it's funding to train your teachers, your staff, your students, or even your community members in clean energy topics. Going down to the bottom of this table, you'll see some pertinent details about funding and deadlines. For that first Track 1, this is open enrollment. So proposals are accepted on a continuous basis until the end of 2025, unless the dollars are committed earlier. And funding caps do differ based on building particulars and are included in our program description, which is on our website. Track 2 is a competitive solicitation. So we'll be reviewing the first round of proposals at the end of July, and it is anticipated that there'll be more than one round. For Track 2, we'll offer funding up to 100%. There are some per building and per district caps to be aware of, however. Those are listed in the bullets. For clean energy education and professional development, again, this too could be funded up to 100% by NYCDOE. Just be mindful that there are those similar caps based on building and district size and whether or not you're pairing it with a Track 1 or Track 2 service. This is a brand new program. We just released it about a month ago. So you guys are getting this hot off the presses. If you think this is something that may be of interest to your organization, I'd really encourage you to sign up for an informational webinar we'll be having. It's next Tuesday. Yes, I had to check the calendar there. And you can register right on our website and you can get enrollment information. Next slide.
I think in interest of time, perhaps we'll skip our example projects just to open it up for questions, but a couple quick slides of some interesting projects where some local organizations in New York City have worked with NYCDOE funding to build some comprehensive training projects in the clean energy space.
With that said, we're happy to answer any questions people have right now. And then the slide up contains Laura and my contact information along with our website where you can always go for more information after today's meeting.
I have a question, Holly. So the application process with NYCDOE for grants is separate from the CFA, is that correct?
It is separate. So each of our programs has different requirements of what needs to be submitted in a proposal, if it's a competitive solicitation or an open enrollment. It's a lot of details. If any of these programs that we've gone through today, I know we went through about 4 different things, kind of piqued your interest, we'd be more than happy to kind of have a dedicated conversation with you as it relates to your organization or any of your stakeholders. And of course, we'll direct you to our website as well, which has all the information and more.
And the applications go directly to NYCDOE, not
Okay.
through the CFA.
Right, yeah, okay, thank you.
All right, Karen, drop in acronyms on us. I don't know what a CFA is, but any other questions? Any questions, comments? I know I'm gonna get emails after Laura and Holly log out. So stop being so antisocial and ask your questions because I'm gonna get the emails. Can schools apply directly or is this more of a district level responsible kind of thing? Can schools apply directly, Laura or Holly, or is this something that DOE has to do as a district?
So speaking specifically to the capacity building program, so if you're interested in building out your a training program, getting equipment, launching a new initiative related to training through the capacity building program, that can be done at the school level or the district level, whatever works. We also accept partnerships of projects. Sometimes schools can team up with other organizations if they need to bring in some additional technical expertise or a community-based organization to help with job placement on the back end. We do often support partnerships, and we're flexible in who is the lead applicant in those cases.
Okay, so Joe, hopefully that answers your question. You know how I feel about central office, and I'm not going to say anything further. So you made the right call for that one for yourself, Joe.
And I will
yes.
also say just a quick plug. I think it was in the chat, but Michael Bobker from the CUNY Building Performance Lab, I know has raised his hand to help kind of offer their expertise and experience navigating NYCDOE programs to kind of help brainstorm concepts or project ideas. So I think his information's in the chat.
Great information. This is Diane from AEA, Laura, Holly. We would also be very much interested in collaborating with the high schools as far as internships and PUN 4924, the P12 project. For those of you who do not know AEA, we are an energy efficiency training provider as well as a provider of work scope in energy efficiency, and we go in to do the work of energy efficiency, electrification, and we can talk further about that. But thank you very much, and I will be reaching out to you, Laura, Holly, on this, and hopefully some people on this call would be interested in collaborating with AEA as well as Bob.
Great, thanks so much.
Laura and Holly, I think this is for you. One of our schools want to know, is it possible for you to tell us the names of some of the companies that you are working with already? These companies would be great for schools to reach out to house interns or as guest speakers and to make other connections.
Absolutely. We have 2 links on our website that we can share after for distribution. We have both our example training projects, so people can see who is already getting NYCDOE funding for different types of training projects. So that's training providers, other organizations, and you can see some examples of successful projects. We also have a directory of our employer partners who have hired through the on-the-job training and internship programs. That's another comprehensive directory, several hundred businesses on the website.
Terrific. And there you go, Joe. Talk to Diane. This is what I do. I bring people together. All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Laura. I guarantee you we're going to be hearing from more folks as time goes along. Okay.
They answer questions when they come up.
Yes, terrific. Okay, I'm going to end the meeting with announcements. Let me just share my screen one last time. Wow, I have a lot of people here today. You know, this is a good turnout because for most meetings, I mean, people get half the the amount of folks that come to this meeting. So I'm very impressed. All right, let me just finish up with some announcements and we can get going. All right, first of all, I don't think the Dark Knight Bruce Payne is with us, but on behalf of DOE, I just wanted to extend our gratitude for his many years of service towards our CTE programs and initiatives and our kids. All right, so thank you, Bruce Payne, architecture teacher from Ralph McKee. Thank you for everything that you've done for us over the years. Tuesday, May 24th, from 2:30 to 3:30, there will be a electric vehicle webinar hosted by Megatech. Jeff, are you with us? Jeff Hall? I don't know if Jeff is with us. Okay, I was gonna ask Jeff to unmute to just talk about that, but I'll send out information about that if anybody wants to join that webinar. Thursday, May 26th at 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Our partners at DCAS are having their annual fleet and equipment show in Flushing Meadows Corona Park in Queens. So that's a great field trip opportunity for any of you staff members and kids looking for something to do outside of school. We have dozens and dozens and dozens of different vendors throughout New York City that are going to be doing exhibits. Your kids can get to network, talk to professionals, learn about some different equipment being made and being used as a part of the Vision Zero initiative in New York City. Friday, June 3rd is the deadline to sign up for the Engineering Tomorrow virtual summer camp. I know you have so many emails from Central about ISP and SYEP and Career Ready and Career Wise and all these other things. I can't remember all of them either. I know this is just one more thing for you to do, but this is a way simpler lift. If you have some kids, whether or not they're CTE, if they have any interest in engineering, there's a virtual summer camp being hosted by our partners at Engineering Tomorrow. And somebody's excited about that summer camp. And that's taking place in July. So they can sign up. My assistant, Nicole, will put that. Who is this Rashawn person that keeps talking? This is the third time I've had to mute this person. All right, so Nicole is dropping in the links inside the chat box. So just feel free to distribute that to your kids. And 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, they're eligible for that. It's virtual. That's happening in July. Sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice here. All right, seeking CTE teachers, send your resumes to me. We need architecture / AutoCAD / drafting teachers. Every borough needs architecture teachers. I don't know what's so special about next year, but every school is bugging me about architecture teachers. And if you know anybody in industry that wants to make that transition to being a full-time classroom teacher in our public school system, if they have a high school diploma and 4 years experience, or a 2-year degree and 2 years experience, or a 4-year degree and 1 year experience, any way you slice it, they're eligible to get a CTE teacher certification. So just send the resumes to me. We'll figure out all the rigmarole afterward. And also looking for engineering teachers as well, all disciplines, civil, structural, mechanical. Looking for HVAC teachers as well, because one of our teachers is retiring, and we know how this goes. One teacher retires, there goes the entire program. So we have to keep these programs running. Send the resumes to me. And of course, any teacher that has a technology education license. I mean, that's like the holy grail of teacher licenses, because you can teach just about anything. So if you know somebody that has a technology education license, send me the resume, I'll plug them in somewhere. Fill out the attendance and survey before you log out of this meeting. And if I see one person put down on the survey that I wish Gav would provide notes or links, I am going to find you, and me and you are going to have problems. Because, as I said, you need to check your spam folder or your junk folder. All the email, all the links, all the presentations, everything you need is within my meeting notes. So just check your spam folder within 24 hours if you don't get this information. All right, everything is found on our CTE public drive on Google. As always, I can be reached at greid10@schools@nyc.gov. Make sure you put the number 10 there, because greid@schools is a woman named Georgia Reid, and she's tired of getting your emails. She stopped forwarding them to me. So please put the 10 there in the email address. Are there any other questions or comments before we dismiss?
Can you hear me, Gav?
Yes, Evelyn.
So I'd like to just say something about the SVA program for the teachers that are on the call. I mean, not for the teachers, for the business or companies that are on the call. So the SVA program is a teacher training program to created 35 years ago to help create a pipeline for teachers of our schools. And so while they're in the program training to become teachers of their trade, we place them at companies. So I'm here to tell you that I have information. If you're a company that has the capacity to host, we do placements a couple times a year. Right now, we are placing a few. I'm going to put the information in the chat. There's another link that you can add to the deck, Gav. If any of you interested or want to know more about it, please click on the Google Docs I just shared, and all the information is there, and you can contact us, and maybe we can partner, and you can have a teacher candidate at your company that will practice their trade while also learning and towards, and then be able to take it back to the classroom and teach students. So
Yep, great. And
thank
and
you.
by the way, Emmanuel Baptiste, thanks for joining us. That's one of my high school buddies who's now a big shot in the industry. Thanks, Manny, for joining us. So just to reiterate what Evelyn just said, we have the Success Via Apprenticeship Program. These are college-age students. We cover the wages ourselves. So if you're an architecture firm or engineering firm and you're open to taking on one of our young adults who are training to become a CTE teacher, please let us know. This is a free employee for you because our office is covering the wages. All right. So mature, they're more mature theoretically than our high school kids. All right. So if this is a program you want to be a part of, please just hit me up or let Evelyn know. Um, Another thing that I wanted to put out there, because this question came up from one of our schools, we were discussing portfolios earlier. Does anybody have any recommendations of platforms that are used to have our kids use to maintain their portfolios? Is there an industry standard for that? Does it make a difference how their portfolio looks? Does anybody use any specific software, any specific website?
There's no particular format, but obviously in the architecture field, it's more visual. So it's about telling the story in a visual way. So you have to have that communication to be able to do that.
Okay, great,
Any
Mindy.
some sort of presentation is perfect. Like, it's always hard copies are welcome, especially you can engage more during the interview than having something just on the cloud or virtual.
Okay, great. So Roberto and Mindy answered your question, Mitch. So let me know if that is a satisfactory answer for you. All right. Any other announcements, questions, comments before we dismiss? I do see a hand up. Jared,
Yes.
Dr. Jax. Yes.
Hey, Gab.
Hold on,
Hi,
Valerie. Hold on,
Okay.
Valerie. Jared and
Okay.
then Valerie. Yes.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Cheryl had mentioned some other things that might be worthwhile looking into preparation. And me and Matt both asked for like specific things, especially micro-credentials. If there's any other resources or micro-credentials that like the kids should be working towards specifically, it'd be great to have like a follow-up with that and where we could access them, especially for ABET approval. And those are some of the colleges we really push our kids to that have that approval because we know it's nationally recognized and that's going to get them a bigger leg up in the field.
So, Jared, what do you need? You need a list of micro credentials for your kids, or what do you need exactly?
Just anything else that, beyond classroom coursework that would be really applicable. I know you had OSHA as one of the ones on the list in the labor market analysis, but if there's any other like specific to the engineering field, that would be great to know.
Okay, terrific. Okay, all right. And I see Cheryl has her contact info in the chat box. Make sure to connect with her directly as well. Can we do a Zoom poll real quick? Because this is the last meeting for the school year. I want to know how you guys feel. Should we continue doing these virtually or should we do in person? Can I launch this poll? All right, I'm gonna try to, I've never done this poll thing before. Do you see a poll in front of you?
Yeah.
All right, can you guys answer that question? Where should we do our next meeting in the fall? Should we do it in person or should we do it on Zoom? Or are you a moody person like me where it's like, whatever I feel for that day? I'd like to know because guys, I'm a man of the people, all right? These meetings are about you, all right? These meetings are about you. So I will go along with whatever the majority says. So just take a few seconds just to answer that. Any other thing I had to take care of? Okay, I think that's
No,
about
no,
it.
no, no.
So
I want to make
yes.
a
Oh, yo,
comment.
Valerie, I'm so
Yes,
sorry.
yes.
Go for
Okay.
it, Valerie. Sorry.
Robert Smith is a chemical engineer and Columbia MBA who is worth $6.7 billion. He has just offered $15 million to Cornell University to fund scholarships to minority engineering students who are interested in getting either an undergraduate degree or a graduate degree. So high school students that are interested in engineering should apply to Cornell because there will be a lot of money available. As I said, he's worth 6.7 billion and he wants to give back to the community. His name is Robert Smith.
So am I a part of the community? Can I ask Robert Smith for some of that money also? So can you put that put any details in the chat for us, Valerie, or you can email me so that I can be sure to email it out to everyone.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments before we go? Jeff Hull, is your mic working? You can unmute and make any announcements you wish. I don't think his mic is working. Okay. All right. So I guess that's it. Thank you, everybody. This is the last time I'm bugging you for any events for the school year, but you know, I'm here. I work 12 months a year. I'm here year round. So feel free to reach out to me for any questions, concerns. Thank you for making this a terrific, successful commission. As you can see, we're past time. We still have over 47 people here. When I first started this job, you know how many people I would get on a good day? I would get maybe 15 people. All right, so we have really grown as a commission. We have a lot of partners, a lot of internships, a lot of wonderful work that we're doing. And in case nobody else has said to you, thank you for your work, I am telling you, all right? Thank you on behalf of Central Office. Thank you for everything that you do. You make my job extremely fun. I love what I do. I never feel like I'm working. Feel free to reach out to me at any time. You know my email address, you know my phone number. Some of you know where I live as well. Just give me advance notice before you pop up. That's all I ask. All right, so thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday.
Thank you, Gav.
Enjoy the rest of the
All
week.
right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Gav.
everybody.
You're doing great.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you.
Bye, Gav.